our Soul Path community class, and our topic is the new moon in Leo, which will happen on August 4th, just a couple of days from now. Here's the chart for the new moon set in Washington, D.C., since that's the capital of this country. And if we were thinking about the government and the country's affairs, the placement of the planets would be quite relevant. But I always feel putting it in the East Coast time is kind of a good thing because all of us who are coming to this group tend to be either earlier, like Pacific time or Hawaii time, or a little bit later in the day in Europe, and we get to see where things are at this mid-level. The exact time will be 7:13 a.m. Pacific time. I'm sorry, I said Pacific time, Eastern time. And the degree is 12 degrees Leo, 33 minutes. So about 12 and a half, you would up that maybe to 13 degrees. And you can see that it is here. And, in East Coast time, it's conjunct the ascendant, but it's definitely considered part of a stellium, a grouping of 3 or more planets in the same sign or the same house, with Venus at the very last degree of Leo. Now, the other thing that is at the last degree of Leo, or I would say used to be, is the fixed star Regulus. And the fixed star Regulus is one of the royal stars, and its meaning is that it embodies to anybody who has it connected strongly into their chart. It embodies them with great power and success and riches. But if they are out of integrity, they are said to have a major fall. And there are, many people we can look at in the world who have the fixed star Regulus in a key place. And probably in our world right now, one of the most famous ones will be Donald Trump, who has it right on his ascendant. Now, even though the fixed stars and that, sidereal zodiac that's tied to constellations hardly moves at all, takes many thousands of years to move a little bit. Regulus is now at, I think, less than 1 degree of Virgo. It's just, moved into Virgo. And, some would say that since Leo has such to do with royalty, and in the past, the main power in royalty was kings, fiery sign, as we'll see as we move more and more into this. But Virgo is more the sign of the hermit, healer, somebody who's of service, somebody's devotional, and where Leo traditionally is said to be a masculine sign, Virgo is said to be a feminine sign. So as we think about the fact that, maybe the time for the extreme control of the patriarchy is coming to an end, and matriarchal energies are coming onto the planet, hopefully, ideally, to create a good balance. We can see that this particular new moon, and including Moon and Venus, which are 2 planets that represent women, can be something that, we can see that there's this shift or this focus on what is Leo and what does that mean about rulership, kings, queens, power, and what is Virgo, service, devotion, humility, solving problems, fixing things. So this new moon tends to carry that entire embodiment of qualities in it. And also, just to add emphasis, Mercury is stationed already, and on the 4th in the evening, 9:56 p.m., Mercury will actually go in its retrograde motion. So the whole month of August, we're feeling this Mercury retrograde. And I would say that whenever Mercury is in one of its own signs, Jupiter, I'm sorry, Gemini, see, it's already getting me, I can't talk, Gemini or Virgo, that it seems to me that that's when the Mercury retrogrades, we really feel them a lot. It seems to affect our equipment and communications a little bit stronger, but it is also asking us to review and revise and figure things out and make appropriate healing, fixing changes. And as we're in this whole month, the Mercury retrograde will go back over the Leo that it is just covered. So whatever you have been thinking about and doing for this month of July, pretty much now you get to do this review process. So those are the main things that are happening at the time of the new moon, but also there's a sextile between Mars and Jupiter. Now you remember that a few weeks ago, Mars joined Uranus and Algol at 26 degrees of Taurus. And that was an inflection point of potential for change where we break out of stuck patterns. And now things are moving much faster. Taurus moves slowly, no matter what sign no matter what planet is in these signs. If you have a planet that's in Taurus, it's going slow and steady and mindful of security issues. You have a planet in Gemini, it's moving quickly, curious, thinking, communicating, moving around. And over these next 2 weeks, we have Mars moving toward Jupiter, which brings about an expansion principle. And everything that Jupiter touches will tend to get bigger. So we're likely to have Mars, arguments, new initiatives, things that are intense moving forward, competition. We're likely to feel this is sort of blowing up and in a way of communication. And certainly if we're here in the United States, what we're seeing is tremendous amount of political communication. And that's going to keep going now for, the next few months while we move toward this, quite intense election season. Now, just to get our bearings in the actual astronomy of the new moon, we have the sun and the moon coming together. The sun, as most of you know, represents your personal power, your self-image, what it takes for you to feel vitality, which is to be in alignment with your sign and do your sign well so that you feel vital, alive, and energetic. Also, when you do your sun sign well, you feel self-esteem, self-worth. You feel good about yourself. The sun will represent what is your conscious mind, your conscious ego. And even though ego gets a bad rap, spiritually, we have to have a certain amount of steady ego in order to release it in a healthy way. If you just keep releasing ego to total egolessness, you don't have the resolve of will to move things forward in life. And you're kind of, a dandelion butterfly drifting on the breeze. So conscious ego means that the ego is connected to the higher self and the will of the spirit. I always like to think of the sun as the CEO of the chart, because when the sun is activated in a healthy way, the sun will be making choices and also making sure that all the other planets are operating optimally. Now, some of your planets may be in aspect to the sun, and that gives them, kind of extra power, extra sense of communication, integration with the sun. And other of your planets may not be, maybe in harder aspect to the sun, and you have to work a little harder to bring those energies together. But when you do, when you get your chart kind of firing on all cylinders, then you can accomplish what your goals are. And as you make good choices and you focus and you bring forward your inner power, your willpower, you manifest your intentions, and then the sun feels good and the image is good and you're standing up and shoulders are straight. and you face the world through the heart. And the sun actually rules the sign of Leo, or is aligned with the sign of Leo. So all these things that we're saying about the sun are also very connected to the qualities of Leo. So sun, Leo, sun, choice, power, self-image. Moon, on the other hand, soft, quieter, nurturing, the way we nurture others and the way we wish to be nurtured. So moon is just about nurturing. And then the sign it's in tells us how you want to nurture, how you want to be nurtured. Someone with a moon in Aries wants to be nurtured by someone saying, go do it, go do what you want. That feels really good. Someone with a moon in Cancer wants to be nurtured by someone, baking them cookies and making them chicken soup and taking care of them in a way that they can feel. So feelings, moon represents our capacity for feelings, our instinctual mood and memory, and very much the subconscious mind. So the sun is that conscious mind, identified with being out in the world and making it happen, getting it done. And the moon is softer, internal, intuitive, subconscious, emotional habit patterns. The moon reflects our connectivity to mother, children, family. And that doesn't mean, just because you have a moon that you want to have a family. We all have a moon. But the moon's position, the sign it's in, how integrated and healed it is, can tell us something about how we relate emotionally with the people that we nurture and care for, the people we think of as family. So the moon is always connecting to our heart's desire and shows our capacity maybe for unconditional love, whereas Venus, as a relationship planet, tends to be more conditional in some way. The way that we draw relationships to us and stabilize them, but most relationships have a certain level of condition on them in order for us to pursue them. Like most of us hopefully don't want to be in relationship with someone who is cruel and abusive to us. Whereas with the moon, we can often feel our love for somebody, our unconditional love, our soul-centered love, even when they're behaving very, very badly. We may still need to engage our Saturn and create boundaries, but the moon is often beyond the conditions. So these two planets come together every month and they start a new cycle. And they're coming together on the 4th in the sign of Leo. So the evolved qualities of Leo include power and creativity, being expressive and benevolent. There's a royalty signature, people with strong Leo can be very loyal and confident and big-hearted. And there's just a glow. A lot of times when a Leo walks into the room, you feel them, you see them. They're known for having big hair or hair in some way that is notable. Even someone who doesn't have very much hair, if with strong Leo, will do something to it so that the hair is noticeable. Adornment, jewelry, clothes. There will just be a sense of someone sweeping into the room. And many times, especially in past decades, our Hollywood movie stars absolutely embodied Leo energy, creative people and people who really knew how to create an image. Now, our average Leo energy is playful and validating. Leo will come up to you right away and tell you how gorgeous you look. And it is said that it's because they also want you to tell them how gorgeous they look. So that validating, like, oh, darling, you look amazing. Oh, yes, you look, oh my God, you look so great. That's Leo conversation. It's dramatic, there's a flair, it's celebratory, vivacious. Um, Leo is known for luxury loving. If I see somebody that Leo rules their second house of money, I'm going to think, if they have a windfall of $50,000, the first thing they're probably thinking of is a new car or, fixing something up so it's amazing, maybe a new wardrobe. Whereas if that same 50,000 came to somebody who had more earth there, maybe they're thinking about investment and savings and holding on to it, being a little bit more careful. And remember, this is, we're talking about all other things being equal. We can get confused because somebody can have Leo rising, but then that's ruled by the sun. And let's say the sun is in Virgo, that person is not going to respond the same way that someone who has Leo rising but has their sun in Aries will be, right? The sun in Aries will amplify the fire energy, whereas some signs will really soften. So, we always have to take that. But when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about really pure Leo expression. And on the shadow side, we have the energy of ego, narcissism, everything from typical narcissism to your real toxic, malignant narcissist who will often have some strong Leo signature, um, can be imperious, uh, shameful, demanding. Uh, I I remember many years ago I had a friend who had very strong Leo, and she was a beautiful woman, and she had actually been a theater actress in New York. And I remember going away with her for a weekend, and as we walked into this restaurant that we had reservations at, she really did walk in with that imperious attitude, like just completely owning the space. And then the number of demands that she had were like just off the charts. Like, she was too cold and she didn't like the blind on the window and she needed, the boiling water just so, and all of these things, and in kind of an off with her head kind of attitude. And my Pisces moon Mercury kicked in, and I found myself, sort of apologizing and being extra sweet and ingratiating and trying to kind of in some way balance this intense entitlement that she had, which was in some ways beautiful to behold. I mean, some of us need more of that, need more of the entitlement and the expectation, maybe just a little bit of healthy amount. But that was a really prime example of someone with super Leo. So this new moon, where is this new moon in your chart? That's what we're going to think about as we go into the next segment of this meeting and look at a few charts and kind of play around with what could be possible. Now, it's going to affect very strongly those mid degrees of Leo. You can think about 5 degrees on either side. It's around 12, 13 degrees. So, maybe if you've got something in Leo, 7, 8 degrees up to maybe 20, that's going to be pretty strong. And of course, the closer it is, the stronger the energy will be. But also the other fixed signs, Aquarius, Taurus, and Scorpio, especially if it's quite close in aspect, they will be very affected by this new moon. And then you can look at, first of all, do you have a creative project in mind? Is there something you're thinking about doing, launching, um, bringing a little further along? It'd be really great in the new moon ritual to focus on that, focus on the new start and kind of cultivating the energies for manifesting success. If you don't have a creative project or just an addition, you can think about what brings you joy and pleasure, because that's what Leo wants. Leo wants to live life large, and what could be expansive, what could be creative in general for you, and manifesting more of that. Now, the sign of Leo is connected to children, and getting in touch with our own inner child can be a way to bring about more joy. Of course, for some of us, first we have to do some deep healing of the inner child because they're not too joyful, they're hanging out in some sadness and disappointment. But the potential to reconnect with inner child and bring forward pure creativity, ease, and joy is always there. And again, it's time with this new moon to harness a little bit of healthy entitlement. Like, what do you deserve just for being? What would you like to bring in? What would you like to experience? As I've mentioned several times, the energy in general is moving faster and faster, and the veils are thin between thought, word, and action and manifesting results. So if something happens, you wake up in the morning and look at your bank balance and it's discouraging, and your energy falls and you feel worried, negative, hopeless, the energy just collapses in on itself extra fast. And if you can find a way to tune yourself into the flow of the universe, into abundance, and with this new moon in Leo, into expansive concepts of creating in alignment with the cosmos, you can shift the energy. You can move into a more positive, optimistic feel. And so that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do a new moon meditation, and we're going to look at a couple of charts and think about what people are doing, what's already on your mind. Usually we're in alignment with the planetary energies, whether we realize astrology or not. Things it's just the nature of life. Like the tides come in and the tides go out. They're not following the ephemeris. They just line up with that lunar energy. And I posted this slide recently in our course community portal, but just to remind you that we're really down to the last couple of weeks now. If you've been thinking about signing up for the OPA retreat in Utah in October, we're down to the last couple of weeks of earlier pricing, and then we're going to come to the point where there's no more registration. My consulting skills training is completely filled up now, but there are a couple of really great tracks still available. Especially I'm excited about my friend Magali's track on working with trauma in the chart, and Moon's working on death charts and how we grow and evolve through the loss of people that we care about. And then, of course, I've got all these talks coming up that you're going to be able to sign up for because they are mostly virtual. And fall classes are available also in September. So that's my little promotional bit, and we will escape from here. I'll stop the share.